Dance we won't do.
And I was learning how to write. I was learning the craft.
Well, shit, a lot of these stories would make really good, books.
I actually started with poetry as a kid, 'cause I like the rhyming stuff. So I used to write poems and stuff as a kid.
Where I cut my teeth and learned a lot was from reading a bunch of the screenwriting books and then writing a bunch of crappy screenplays.
Ever since I can remember writing, started writing stories.
I think writing becomes like a drug. Like once you start, it's really hard to actually stop yourself.
Instead of going out with your friends, you're inside chasing the dragon of having breakthroughs with stories and characters and finding those perfect lines.
Use the rhythm of the story to, control how the audience sees the story.
And if you just read the words on the page, you're not engaging in it.
You can tell more of a story with a facial expression than you can from a huge word balloon taking up half the panel.
Sometimes as a writer, you wonder what the hell you're doing.
If you ever think that, am I just making, in a Kantian sense, am I just making this up? Am I really alive? Am I really experiencing? Am I just an illusion?
The problem with fiction is reality.
You do not want your reader to feel let down.
I can do this. I think I can do this, but I want to do this.
Like when you give somebody a piece of poetry, and it can be someone who hates poetry, and then they read it, and you see that light hit, and you go, oh, I did it.
All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Writing Prose. Tonight's episode is about writing controversy. So for people who are not fully sure as to what that means, it's writing on controversial topics, what to, like how people get around it, what is deemed controversial nowadays, what isn't, all that kind of fun stuff. So this is going to be an interesting show, I think, especially considering I've got Will and Buddy. So who knows where this shit's going to go.
Sideways. It always goes sideways.
Always cider. All that we ever do. It's fine. I got cider. I'm good. I'm good.
It's not cider. It's cider.
No.
Cider, like chowder.
No. This is it's invisible cider, as you can tell.
Clearly. Yeah,
it's a premium Swedish hard cider. So no, we don't say it like that. All right.
There.
So, there you go. That sure.
Cider. There you go.
So let's go ahead and introduce. We got a light crew today. I don't know where the hell everyone else is.
Yeah, what a bunch of pussies.
Right. I do know that Adam's going to be coming in, but he's going to be an hour late.
Yeah, Adam, where are you at?
He'll be in at 11. But we got Will. How you doing, Will?
Hi.
You couldn't even do anything more than that, so I can get more than a tiny sip.
Oh yeah. Hi.
Chug. There we
go.
I just want people to see you drinking and not be distracted by what I'm saying. Please drink. I love watching a woman drink.
Oh, please. Like you could distract him.
Will is the writer for Black Flag since he refuses to say it himself. How you doing, Luke?
It's been a trying day. Whatever.
Yeah. That's
lackluster we all are.
Man,
I got time to do. All right.
Buddy, what do we have to do to get your face on here? Like, do we have to reach a certain amount of subscribers or watchers, and we'll get your face?
I have to get my the company that I work for to drop their social media policy.
Oh, because I need you face to face, buddy. I need it.
That is weird, but sure, one day.
That is weird.
Buddy, if I thought it was weird, I'd be depressed and I'd probably kill myself. But I'm too depressed to bother. So.
Oh my god.
We were talking about what was it, Tinder women a second ago.
What? No.
That'll depress anybody.
No.
They all disgust me.
No, it's not going to go off the rails this early.
Hey, that is very controversial. So
that's an idea for a show. Let's just do a group construction of my Tinder profile, make it the Red Valkyrie Tinder profile, and see what we get, and share it every 3 weeks and say, "Here's our DMs."
I want no part of that.
Shae has not had enough liquor for this conversation.
I have not.
Yep.
And I'm perfectly sober, which tells you that I'm a fucked up individual.
I'm just drinking tea, so
Yeah, but you're Asian. You got Zen built in.
it's true. Everything's Zen. I don't think so.
I don't think so. Thanks.
We
It's gonna be
also
stuck in my head.
have
Wolverine. I cannot promise you anything.
Will, I will mute you in 5 fucking seconds. We also have Buddy Lord.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him.
Hello, I'm Buddy Lord, and I'm the writer of Sins of the Fae. It's in demand. Go check it out if you like fantasy, steampunk, that kind of thing.
I totally swear I pictured you with like a fan, just fanning yourself while you said that. I'm Buddy Lord, and I've got the vapors.
I do declare. Do you have the grapes that I need?
Wow.
Yep.
Oh, hello,
Yep.
Kat. I'm already so very sorry. So very sorry. I don't even know what's happening anymore. All right, so we're talking about writing controversy, writing controversial topics and things like that. Right out the gate, anybody have? Will, you got to have something.
Well, like when we say, just to kind of elaborate for the chat, when we say writing controversy, like, are we talking about self-restraint or the art of writing something that's going to rile people up? Like, which one are we going with?
Yes.
Which one do you want to start with?
Which one would you like to start with? Which one do you have more to say on?
I mean, isn't anything controversial nowadays?
Yeah, I mean, if you're anything but,
if you're not based in 1920s worn out French philosophy or I don't know
what that is.
far left radical ideology, then everything is controversial.
I mean, I've seen grammar be referred to as white supremacy and mathematics as white supremacy. So I mean,
Exactly.
it's a pretty broad form of controversy. And I've also seen, the family unit referred to as white supremacy. So, like, just writing about a family and a wife feeding, her husband is considered a radical act these days. So, but I guess we could say about restraint. I think that's where we could start. I think when you restrain yourself for any topic and you don't want to be truthful about it, I think the audience can sense it. I can always sense it when I'm reading something and the author is getting somewhere and there's a dialectic and an argument going on, and I'm like,
And
oh, that's
fade to
interesting where
black.
they're going. Right? Or they go somewhere else, contrary to where it would go, and you're like, oh, you copped out of it, huh? You were going somewhere with that, and you realize it was too truthful. I've seen that before, many times, and it's jarring. Like, it pulls me out of a story when the author becomes self-aware, and he goes, "Uh-oh, I better not get too truthful with the zeitgeist here."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always jarring. I always sense it when they do it.
Yeah, it's an energy.
Yeah.
You can tell that the energy got stunted, while they were in mid-thought or mid-process.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's actually something that I think I've noticed a lot is you have people that are so concerned about being labeled some kind of an ist or a phobe or something. And so everything they write, they're like, well, he or she was drawn to another human being or not. And it's like, what are you saying at this point? It's like, you're trying to say like, he saw her from across the room. And you're like, well, I can't say that because that's misogynistic. And I can't say that because that is cisgender, which means it's LGBT phobe and all this other crap. So they like try to make it all inclusive. And in doing so, it sounds, and I've said this before, it sounds like when you watch that episode of Friends where Joey wanted to write, he wanted to do the vows for Chandler and Monica. And he was like, and they love and togetherness, and they'll be there together in love. And they just he keeps repeating the same thing. And then when they finally tell him like, yeah, maybe try a couple different words, he uses a thesaurus on his entire speech. And it ends up becoming complete and utter nonsense. I think that that's what a lot of people end up doing when they try to pre-censor themselves in fear of being deemed too controversial for or whatever it is. Will looks confused.
No, I'm listening.
Is that just you have resting confused face?
Do I look perpetually confused?
You either look perpetually confused, like you smelled something bad in your fridge, or like you hate me. I can never decide which one.
I mean, there's truth to that. I'll let you.
There's some
decide
really bad
which
shit in his
one.
fridge. I mean, he's got that yerba mate stuff. So
That doesn't go in the fridge, you weirdo. Go back to your wet market.
Gosh. Oh my gosh, buddy, what do you think?
I mean, I can understand that. There's a lot of. I remember when Lord Byron, he wrote the poem about his cousin. I always remember hearing about that in different literary circles, like in my classes and everything, because the whole idea was back then, 1700s, you had to be pristine, right, to wear like the morning dress, the wedding dress before you got married, it had to be white. And he wrote this whole poem called "She Walks in Beauty," and then but it says that she doesn't walk in white. And he's trying to like skirt the line of being, not destroyed as a Protestant, basically. Because he's basically saying, "Hey, yeah, my cousins had sex, but I don't want to say it."
Wow.
Well, I think that picking Lord Byron is a good. Not Lord. Is it Lord Byron or Shelley? You just said. I'm sorry.
Lord Byron.
Lord
But I mean,
Byron.
Shelley was in the same group.
Yeah, well, he was also, let's face it, he was banging Mary Godwin's sister.
Yeah.
So then they were trying to entrap him in like a four-way.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what like the whole Frankenstein thing was. They were trying to freak
Right.
the girls out, and so one of the girl, she saw some dead bodies and was like, "Oh my god!" Because they were one of them was a doctor or something, I think, and so
Right.
she saw the
That
dead
was
bodies. And,
the assistant to Lord Byron was Doctor. What is his name? He was like essentially his assistant. But it's funny you bring that up and you bring up Frankenstein because that kind of goes to what we're talking about. Is Mary Shelley cannot talk about the morality of her day because she doesn't have the philosophical horsepower to talk about it because she was raised by William Godwin, who was a revolutionary. Remember, he was a moral revolutionary trying to overthrow the moral law, and he was always writing about liberty and about passions being free. And Shelley was like, his
well, I mean,
biggest
that's funny when
Remember?
when people talk about how like science fiction is always like I've read a lot recently where people want to, especially the radical left, want to claim science fiction as their own completely. And they say, "Oh, well, the first science fiction is all of it was woke," and I'm like, Frankenstein was not woke.
Well, Frankenstein was a reaction to wokeness.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's a direct reaction because Mary Shelley can't talk about the moral law. She doesn't understand it. She wasn't taught it. But what does she do? She makes the moral law a monster, and then she makes her husband Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah, and she makes it like both like like which one is the greater monstrosity was the whole point. I mean, it is there is some sort of like politic to that. You could talk about it being like it almost being because it's creation and it has to follow him and everything. I mean, you can talk about it being an analog for being a wife and not having any input into its life and that kind of thing. I mean, there is something to that, I guess, because like we've said before, writers write best what they know.
Well,
but
no,
even with
she was
that,
a liberated woman at the time. There was nothing in that family about women being held down.
Yeah.
No, not at all. She was a liberated feminist. She was very much a '60s woman, Mary Shelley at the time. There was nothing about being constrained. That book was all about her husband thinking he's basically God. You know what I mean? And being obsessed with electricity and replacing the motion of things with electricity. We don't need God. We don't need causality. We've got electricity that can move things. We can bring back to life dead bodies. It's the animation of the universe.
Well, I almost think if you think about it in that way, that kind of horror is almost writing controversy, but on the edge of it. Horror and comedy both are ways of saying controversial things without saying them.
Well, and what's interesting, she's not restraining herself. She's just doing the zeitgeist. That's what's interesting. She's going with it, and it's going where it naturally goes. I don't think she thought about what she was writing in the way we're talking. I think she just felt that way.
I don't think most writers do. I mean, honestly, I've been in a lot of writing workshops and stuff, and I have yet to be with a great writer that was like, yeah, I want to write this cultural zeitgeist in this kind of way. And they just write. They're just writing something they think is cool.
Yep.
And because we write what we know, sometimes it just clicks in that groove. And is it about that? Not really, but it could be. And I think great art is like that.
Unhinged Entertainment has a really good point, and this is something else that I think is probably, I think people trying to avoid controversy, while annoying, is nowhere near as bad as people trying to be controversial for the sake
For
of
the sake
controversy.
of.
It is one of the most, and I honestly think out of everything that's going on in literature right now, probably the most prevalent is being controversial just for the sake of being controversial. Like we've got all of these writers now that are turning around and saying like, oh, you know, all of these beloved characters that you've had for all this time. You remember the Matrix? Well, that was actually an allegory for transgenderism. You're like, okay, really? Like it's been going on for this long, and now that it is no longer relevant, that nobody has it on the radar, that your entire audience that had it has been like, yeah, it was good, it's done, it's over, it's past. Now you're trying to revitalize it by forcing it to be controversial. Like why is that the go-to?
You know why? Because Sensei failed
money.
like a bitch. That's why.
Well, also it's in hindsight based on what the Wachowski brothers became. They became the Wachowski sisters. So everybody's looking at that stuff with a different lens now. Even me, I'm looking at it differently because, okay, wait, you have to take into account the people who create the art you're watching, right? It's not isolated from them. We make that mistake in saying, well, there's the artist and then there's the output. Well, no, they're intimately connected. You know what I mean? It's the same with whether you're talking about an economist, a political figure, you know, Sigmund Freud, or an author of fiction. They have an input into their work. They project themselves into their work. So I think that one is valid because now we know that these two men were going to become trans women. So maybe that does make sense of a lot of things in the Matrix, and it does when you watch it again. But you've also got what Statistical Zero is saying right here is because Matrix 4 is coming out next year, and they needed to get people talking. Yeah, that too. Yeah. But their transition happened a long time ago. Like I think. Right, but if their transition happened a long time ago, then how come the Matrix wasn't about transgender a long time ago? And now all of a sudden that they've got another show that's about to launch, and because you couldn't talk about it then like that. This was back in remember, this happened really fast as Revolution that we're going through, right?
I wish they would just stop retconning shit to fit their agenda.
Yeah.
Like that in any kind of media, stop retconning shit to fit your agenda.
Yeah, stop rallying that shit because that's what I'm calling it.
What's retconning? What is that? I'm sorry.
It's when you're rallying something. You know, when you go to the grocery store, you go, "Did you know that Dumbledore had the most fabulous gay sex with blah blah blah?"
Oh, okay.
You know.
Okay.
And the poor guy's like, paper or plastic, man.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Critical Blast has that's not entirely true because the idea within cyberpunk has always been the fluidity of gender. That's always been a theme of cyberpunk.
Yeah.
You know, that's not a new thing in that genre.
Well, yeah, because the whole idea of digital and analog.
No.
Well, you also have the fact of something existing in a story and something being the deciding factor of that story. And they basically tried to take the Matrix from, sure, gender can be fluid because it's the Matrix and you make your
residual
own kind of image and everything. Right. So sure, you could be a male that appears as a female. No problem. No big deal. They took it from that and they decided to make it such a sticking point and stomp their feet about it that it went from being something that happens in a book, because despite what people think, nobody is getting pissed off when there's a homosexual couple or an interracial couple or anything. Nobody is losing their minds over it. What they're losing their minds over is when that is the only thing that those people are. When they can't be anything outside of that one tiny little difference that some might find controversial, but the vast majority of us don't give a flying fuck about. When they harp on that,
it's all superficial.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Being controversial to be just for the sake of controversy.
And that's where
give them something, give them meat, substance. Don't just make them tokens because that's more insulting.
Exactly. And I could give two shits less. You want to have a book that has nothing but just rampant gay sex in it. Okay, cool. Go for it. But if all they ever do is have gay sex, talk about having gay sex, talk about how good the gay sex was.
Isn't it just a gay porno at that time?
At
that point, yeah.
then it's not something that I'm interested in, because they're about one thing. It's just like with people. If I meet people like that, I'm like, oh my gosh, get away from me. You are so one-dimensional and so dull and boring, and you can't exist in a world bigger than yourself. Like, you've got this one tiny little thing, and that's all that you are, and it's sad.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the whole issue with, like, when they like, what was it, Batwoman, when it first came out, you know, and the first thing they were like, the best gay superhero, and I'm like, I'm out.
So what qualifies as like the best gay superhero? Is there like a quality about being gay that makes you a better superhero?
I don't know, but it was just.
But you see how hard that is to categorize? It's like,
exactly.
Okay, I do a butt, and does that give me powers to like throw kryptonite continents into space? I don't get it. Like, what does that have to do with it?
But that's the thing, is it doesn't, right?
No.
These things should be tiny little seasonings to a character that help flesh them out and make them more realistic and relatable. But when that's all they are, which is what they've been doing. If you pay attention to how DC and Marvel have kind of gone downhill, that's what they've done, as they took all these characters that had dimension, that had multifaceted lives, that had, you know, I'm feeling about this. I'm feeling, you know, like, this is how I feel about this section that isn't quite the same as everybody else who I side with over here. And like, they made them flawed, and that was all fine. And then they turned around and they took all those characters and gave them one banner. And that one banner was the only thing that would ever define them. And every time you started to maybe get a sense that they might have a life outside of that one banner, they would throw it back in your face. Mm-hmm. And I tried so hard to read Batwoman. I wanted to like Batwoman. And every single time I turned the page, it was, oh, me and my lesbian lover, and me and oh, she saw her lover getting beaten. And I was just like, why? Like, why can you not let her be a fucking badass redhead, tall, strong woman who just happens to be gay? I don't give a shit that she's gay. Let her be gay. That's great. Whatever. But that is literally the only thing that they ever seem to talk about with her. Every time you turn
around. And fetish.
Like, how much cooler would it have been if, instead of her going, it will be when it fits a woman, if, you know, she finds the costume and she's like, can you make it fit me? Like, really questioning, right? Like, do I deserve it? And then you just get this badass silhouette of her with like the gleaming red hair, you know? How badass would that have been?
Right.
I would have been like,
story completely, buddy.
I'd have been like,
am I worthy of it?
Exactly.
You know, as opposed to, it's not worthy of me because I'm, you know.
Right. But and that's the thing, is I think that when we start talking about a lot of these controversial topics, people get so self-centered, and it all becomes about me and my life and my experience and my, you know, atrocities of the world. And it makes it the most superficial shit ever. Like, you've got characters that are seeing just insane shit happen around them. They're seeing buildings burning. They're seeing people being killed. They're seeing like horrors and atrocities. And all that they have to say about it is, oh, it's just the plight of, you know, women in the world. And you're like, oh my gosh, really? Like, it isn't about you, bitch. Okay, look around. It's about everything around you. Why the fuck is it always just you? Why can you not exist as a bigger part of society and actually contribute something? Why do you have to be so fucking shallow? It's the most shallow shit I've ever seen, and it drives me nuts.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's because these writers they're thinking shallowly. They're not thinking about, like, telling a good story. They're not invested in the characters. This is what's popular, and these are the ideas and the ideologies we want to push. So that's all that matters, right? You know, we don't have to tell a good story.
I mean, a lot of that's the corporatization of Hollywood in itself.
Say again.
A lot of that is the corporatization, like, just, you know, incorporating Hollywood itself and just making it kind of a machine that answers to a collective instead of, you know, let's just make a story and appeal to people. I mean, Hollywood, when it first came out, the kind of stories that came out were amazing stories. You know what I mean? They were the best of what they could find.
Right.
And they had to, you know, it's almost like a church. And what I mean by that is like, have you ever, before it burned down, has anybody ever been to Notre Dame de Paris?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, I went down to Notre Dame de Paris a few times, but if you ever get a chance to go to one of those old Basilica style churches, go when they have a Gregorian chant mass.
Ooh.
It's like a time machine. Okay, I want you go there like 10:30, right? And you have this angelic choir singing, and they're singing the same songs they did 300 or 400 years ago. You go inside, you feel the same like marble columns. You can see the same scriptorium. They bring out different candles. They're made of animal fat and something else, so that they smell like the candles they had back then. And you kind of see what Simon and Garfunkel meant when they said the angels in the architecture. Because if you're a poor person living in filth and sweat and dirt and blood, and you walk into a great place, you hear beautiful music, and you look up and you see angels in the architecture, then it changes everything.
Totally.
And that's what the movies were. They were people's like church. You go and you're suffering, you're in depression, it's poor, but there's a Nickelodeon, you know, there's everybody there, it's 5 cents, you can spare 5 cents. You go and you see these beautiful people doing beautiful things. And, you know, it usually works out in the end, even if it's a little hard. And you leave that place better. And we've forgotten how to do that.
Right.
All we want to do now is teach somebody a lesson.
Well, and here's the thing, though, is they're not trying to teach you a lesson, because stories for the entirety of time have always had lessons and morals and things that you could learn from watching characters and how they go. They want to jam a message into your brain without ever a question, without ever any kind of analytical reasoning, and they want you to blindly accept whatever it is that they tell them. And the second you don't, it's because you're being obstinate and bigoted and terrible.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and just like they were saying, like Wolverine right here, all they understand is the big neon signs they hang on characters. They're not deep enough as people to write actual characters.
Yeah.
Stat Zero said these writers are concerned with their legacy, but only thinking the short game. It must be frustrating, which it absolutely, like, as somebody who enjoys writing and good writing, seeing this kind of lazy, just pandering and pathetic plot lines and these terrible character developments, because they never bothered to develop the characters.
Well, they've got these cursory points. That's all that matters.
Right. And it's one of the most frustrating things as somebody who enjoys writing and as somebody who wants to write more. When I see that kind of stuff, it's like, what the hell is this shit? If this is all that there is, like, yes, at the same time, I want to compete because I am not going to do this. But it also feels like a tiny drip into the ocean. Like the ocean is just completely insane now, and you're the one sane drip trying to go, and you're like, it's not going to matter. It's all going to be white noise.
Like was it like Tears in the Rain?
Yeah, yeah. That's my most favorite monologue that has ever been done ever. So good, so good.
Fucking Rutger Hauer. Rip.
Yeah, well, and just like they're saying, there's like Wolverine. All of a sudden, they're changing all of these legacy characters to make fit an agenda for now, because they can't stand that Wolverine was a hypermasculine, very aggressive.
What is that? What is the objective of that?
To dismantle a strong male figure.
Yeah.
Okay, but what's the objective of that?
So by dismantling a strong male figure, you're giving future generations and the people that are coming up things that they can't relate to be strong, male, powerful, and control. You're giving them more like kind of soy-ish kind of thing. And before
Beta
anybody
male,
gets pissed off,
easily controlled, dominated.
I am not saying that homosexuals are soy. I am simply saying what they are attempting to do is they are taking a strong person, because Wolverine could stay strong, masculine, have an anger problem, have a drinking problem, and still be gay. He could still be all of those things.
Absolutely.
They are not letting him be any
Midnight
of those
and
things.
Apollo. Does nobody remember Midnighter and Apollo? Warren Ellis wrote them in The Authority fucking 20 some odd years ago. They were fucking fantastic. Midnighter was a badass. Gay as fuck, but a badass because he was a real fucking character. Because They had something outside of cursory talking points. They were genuine. They were real people. They weren't just, boxes to check off on a list. That's the most irritating part. They like to try to talk about how this industry's, it's not diverse enough. That just shows you have not paid any attention to the characters that have been in this industry for 30, 40 fucking years.
Exactly. And that's the most frustrating, is when they say that it isn't diverse enough, and so we have to bring diversity into it. Then my response is, then you're not a real fan.
Yeah,
And
well, I mean,
this
it's
is-
go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, this is coming from somebody who didn't discover comics until I was like 24, 26 years old. Okay. I wasn't a real fan, and even I wasn't dumb enough to say there's not enough diversity in comics and I can't read them because I'm a girl. Like, at no point in time did I think any of that. I didn't read them growing up because I was a girl, but it wasn't. It was because they're just. I'm from Utah. There weren't like comic book shops all over the place unless you knew where to look. And being a young girl in Utah, I took shit like dance. And when dance didn't work out, I said, fuck that. I'm going to go take, sports. So I went and did sports, and nobody
comic
in
books
dance
sound like a thieves guild,
But like literally in Utah, the only place that you could ever find, like, you could find comic book shops, but they were in strip malls in very small lots, and they didn't have some big glitzy sign to be like, oh, comic books sold here. Like, they would all have something that was like an insider joke if you were into comics. But otherwise, it was just white noise to anybody else because you didn't know what it was. So you just glazed past it and never thought about it. I had a friend who took me into, it wasn't even a comic book shop. It was a mini gaming shop. And I walked in there and saw a whole bunch of 40-year-old men that were terrified that a teenage girl was in there, and I did not go back.
Yeah,
but to be fair,
the circumstance of most of those shops.
They were a little sketch, and my friend that took me smelled bad, so I didn't really have a desire to go back. But I mean, that was the thing, is like, I had driven past and walked past that same shop so many times and just never bothered to look inside because it looked kind of cluttered and it looked a little complicated, and I was like, well, that doesn't look like my place, so I just never bothered to check it out. I wasn't a super adventurous kid, and it's not like
to be fair, a lot of comic shop owners are not terribly great on the advertising or being extroverted enough to like try to draw business in. They tend to be the bookish type that really like to collect things.
Harumph, I say.
Harumph. Well, you can harumph all you want,
thing
but it doesn't change.
It's not that somebody was hiding comics from me because I was a girl and I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. It was just that it would have taken a little extra effort on my part, and I didn't have anyone who was like, dude, comics are badass, look at what you're missing out on, for me to go, holy shit, I want to find out where I can get those. Like, that didn't happen for me. And so I did other things until I hit 20, and somebody finally did, holy shit, look at what you're missing. And I went, holy fuck, this is what they've been the whole time? And he's like, yeah. I was like, damn it, like, I've been missing out for years.
Well, I mean, newsstand. That's the beauty of the newsstand. People would discover stuff just because it'd be right next to the magazines and the paper, and like, oh, what's this? Eye-catching cover. I got my Venom Lethal Protector #1 from the grocery store. They had like the magazine racks, and then they had like this little half circle alcove, and it just comics.
I got my first comic book from an Indian reservation in Arizona.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
Wolverine, which mall? Now I'm curious. There was a comic shop in the main mall downtown, upper level in Salt Lake City.
Wow.
No idea.
Makes me want to watch Mallrats.
Like, I would say I want to go back and find it, but it's probably long since.
What's in your fingers smell like that all day?
Small price to pay for the smiting of one's enemies.
Jason has a really good question. He says, but is it possible to still write actual controversial quality topics when so much has already been covered? What could be the next talked about thing?
Go, Will.
You're on.
I don't think you'll ever run out. As long as history continues to unfold, you're never going to run out of controversial things to talk about because we're not inert creatures. We're still moving.
No.
So if you're still moving, there's going to be things that bang into you. So I think if you're allowing yourself to be this vessel for which whatever ideas, whoever's holding the jar of ideas is pouring into your head, and you allow yourself to be part of the zeitgeist, or you allow yourself to be infected by it, you're going to translate that to paper, right? It's gonna. I mean, you're in the world, right? You're being talked to on TV, through music, through your various relations. You're getting fed what's in the air. So it's going to ideate something in your head that's going to feed your creativity on whatever subject you want to talk about. These ideas don't come out of nowhere. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. Whether you know where they come from or you don't, but there's always going to be a forum to talk about it in fiction, right? So right now, the zeitgeist is the proxy warriors of, let's just call them Bolsheviks, because they're not even Democrats or leftists, they're Bolsheviks, right? And these people are at war with the moral law. They're at war with Christianity in particular, with, let's just call it, I guess, the logos of the West, right? And everything is used as a proxy to target that, right? So we talked about earlier, we're talking about gays, right? About why is everything gay, right? And I suspect, personally, the reason why there's always a transsexual or gay quality in everything is because the gay model, right? This sterile relationships, because that's what they are. You're not producing another life when you're in a gay relationship. And let's remove the more, the love part of it. Just talk about essence and form, right? A baby is not coming out of that. So those people are ideal consumers. It's two people who don't have a responsibility on either side for a child. They're both working full time. They're both consuming full time. They're voting. You know what I mean? They're out there and they're not tied to family. They're not tied to, they don't have a legacy, right? So those are the ideal people and the ideal lifestyle you want to feed to even heterosexual people, right? And even heterosexual people are behaving like homosexuals, right? We're strapping on condoms and we're having abortions and we're on birth control and we're engaging in frivolous Tinder-inspired relationships, right? So is there any difference between hooking up with someone on Tinder, having sex, nothing coming of it, and then going your separate ways, right? Like, it's still sterile. So to me, the
that
reason
happened in the past too. That just wasn't Tinder.
Well, buddy, what I'm saying is that the reason why the gay template has been chosen by the people who rule over us is because those are the ideal citizens to them, in my opinion. Okay, and it has nothing to do with, hey, you're a gay man. It has to do with that template of lifestyle. It's frivolous sex, no marriage, no family, consume.
Don't be knocking frivolous sex, man. Jesus.
Does anything come of it? It feels good, but what remains after you blow your load in somebody or into a plastic bag? Sorry, you're masturbating into a person is essentially what you're doing. Nothing's coming of it. Sorry, guys.
Really?
Is that controversial enough for you?
Yes. Shut up.
Willis, yeah, I agree. Unhinged.
Damn it. Thank you, Jason. Someone had to say it.
I was quiet. I was inert until you activated me.
Buddy did that. That was Buddy's fault.
And this is how I know better. This is how I separate the wheat from the chaff.
Well, he hadn't talked in a while, I was wondering if he was still even there.
No, I was listening.
We just let him.
I was wondering, like a star, you see it, but it's already gone,
¿Cómo está usted? Muy bien, señor. Gracias.
Christopher Don, I wish I knew. I'm very
well,
sorry.
I mean,
I apologize.
Shae, was I being incoherent or what?
You weren't incoherent. You were just very crass. That's all.
Well, fuck it. What do you want? Good medicine tastes bad.
Just a spoon sugar makes the medicine go down.
Get to the heart of it.
Go down.
Time out. You cannot say what you just said and then turn around and say good medicine tastes bad, okay? Because
I'm done. I'm so out. Oh my God.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
I know.
Thank you, Unhinged. Unhinged, absolute, still available in Indiegogo. Get your ass over there, get your ass to Mars, and buy one.
Get your ass to Mars.
See, thank you, Replicant. See, I've got fans. They somewhat like me, somewhat.
There's nothing wrong.
See, here's the problem. When
Thank you, Wolverine. See that? See that?
Okay.
The cat has spoken.
Wolverine came into here and said, sits down and lights up. Okay, so he sat down, lit up, and followed everything that you said. Either he is not high enough or you are speaking insane to high people.
You should ask Luke to bring up his DMs on Twitter and show you how crazy I can get.
I'm so good because I've talked to you over text, and I feel like that's enough. That's good. I'm good.
There you go. Thank you, Plagal.
Oh my god.
Okay then.
Micturation. I got to micturate, in a minute,
Okay. All right. We're just gonna. I just need a second. I need to recover.
You're like, I need a moment.
He was saying how long it was going to take before this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Undead Ramen. I am also not stoned enough for some of this. Do we all feel good? Do we all feel together? Okay.
Hi, we're not big words. They're $5 words.
Just
$5 words.
$5.
Yeah, yes, that's right,
$10.
Wolverine. Fuck them. Like what did Bernie Mac say? The sage Bernie Mac. If they don't like you, then fuck them up against the wall with the handcuffs on and super glue on the lips. That's all you do.
Luckily, you talked way too fast for me to actually hear you.
That's how he talked. That's Bernie Mac speak.
That's fantastic. We don't got to talk about it.
Don't really remember that one.
But what did you see? Why I got in trouble in school?
Yes, I do. Very much.
Was that in question?
Well, especially in today's schools.
Oh yeah, you don't want to be an old fart in school because they can't you're not the audience for those people. Put it that way.
I like how we are talking about I yeet you now.
Who is it?
We've gone. It's oh my gosh, no squish! Oh,
thank you, Dan Plagal. Appreciate it.
I have to read this. The Squish Show. Thank you for the $5.
Man, it's funny that the guy who's known Dan the longest since he's been in comics is also named Dan.
Thank you for the super chat for Will.
That's my tip jar for Shae. Here you go.
Wow, and it's a little sticky too, so that's great.
Yeah. I can't help. Soul full of love. I can't help but get some of it on you.
Oh wow, we're just gonna keep going with this.
See, I'm like a 0 to 60 kind of guy. Like I'm sitting there like all pensive, and you're like Will, and it's like Pandora's box, motherfucker.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I didn't expect that. It wasn't bad, but I didn't expect it.
It's sort of like have you guys seen? It's sort of like Heat. It's like Al Pacino where he comes in there and he's interrogating the guy that plays all the voices on The Simpsons. What's his name? Hank Azaria, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just talking normal, and he's like, and then suddenly his eyes go wide. And he's like, but she had a huge ass, and just kind of throws him off. When I think of asses, huge ass, something comes out of me.
Okay.
And see, now I'm normal.
Controversial, I guess.
You kind of throw people off.
Oh my gosh.
Make them think you're kind of crazy.
So if you want a controversial topic, just tell
Just
Will,
Will
to talk.
Yeah.
I'll talk for hours. An hour. I'll filibuster. I'm like fucking Cato the Elder. I'll talk for 28 hours to get Caesar off.
Yep. Tell me that wasn't good timing. Come on. That was at least to get Caesar off that and bite.
Well,
I'm getting
better at this. Statistical Zero. What's that from? You can't have my television set. What's that from?
No idea.
I don't know.
Is that a Pacino speech?
Give him a second. There's a delay. Damn it! There's a delay between StreamYard and YouTube. Whew.
I'm not high. I'm sorry.
Shae, I think you short circuited.
Pitiful excuse.
She's got to reboot.
I do at this point. I'm. You know what? Hold up.
Oh, she's gone. Great. So we can have fun now.
Really?
All right. Let's have some fun.
All right.
Fuck you.
Oh man, she's back. The battery, the negative part of the battery's back. That's.
Yeah. This is the show now. The show is just boot Will. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. I'm good. I'm
Y'all
not
having fun yet?
You're not rattling me anymore. I'm done with you. Statistical Zero said it was from Heat.
Oh yeah, that
She
was
don't call
from
his wife cheating.
it was from Heat. Yeah, when his wife is cheating on him and he takes the TV, can't have my fucking TV, and he leaves. Yeah, that's a good speech.
Wow, that is actually really similar to how my mom's first marriage blew up.
Really, he took his TV?
He tried. She had 2 kids by him. He cheated on her with her best friend, and she came home one day to her best friend and him trying to take the television set, like the only TV in the house. They were trying to take it and sneak out, and she was like, "Look,
This is Utah or Tennessee?
This was Utah." She's like, "I don't give a flying fuck. Like, I'm good with us being divorced, but you ain't taking the fucking TV and leaving me with 2 kids. Like,
How
that's
big
not
of a TV
happening."
was it?
I have no idea.
I'm just trying to get an image. Like, was it one of those big like projection TVs trying to push it out the door? Like,
yeah. It was a projection TV. They each had one side, and my mom, she's 5'9", so she's tall for her generation, right? She had me very late.
Generation.
She is. She was the tallest girl in school.
Gotcha.
And then when I went to school, she was like an average height woman for women in Utah. But while she's little, like, don't ever piss her off.
She carry a big stick.
Holy fuck. Okay, you see the red behind me, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see this red? I have gotten her screaming at me so loud that is the color her face turned.
Jeez.
Like, she was so mad at me, her whole face went beet red, and I was like, I'm gonna shut up now because she's about to burst a blood vessel like in her head and die. Like, she had like one vein that was just pulsating. I was like, nope, I've got her way too mad. I'm just gonna be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
This one's for Undead Ramen. Who you calling a spick, you white piece of bread? Scarface.
Well, this RIP stream.
Anything beats just waiting around for me to fuck you all day.
Okay.
All right.
Should I just quote Scarface? All the nasty monologues he's got in Scarface?
No, please no.
Probably not.
This town is like one great.
Nope. I don't even remember what the rest of that is, but I'm not risking it.
You know, I've actually never seen Scarface.
Really?
Yeah.
I've seen it a bunch, but I can't quote it beyond say hello to my little.
You know, I mean, I've never
Get
seen
it
The Godfather, but I've read the I Ching.
Oh, you patrician.
Will, and see, we never had this heart to heart, so we'll have it live because fuck it. We're talking about controversy. Let's do it.
Go for it.
Okay.
I'm monetized now, bitch.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Watch
your fucking mouth sometimes.
But not today because she just lost all her money.
Right. I mean, I'm waiting for YouTube to be like, so that's one strike. Do it again. Be like, well, Will is never coming on Writing Prose.
So we're gonna do should I just have like ass titty in the background, like Frega's little video playing on a television set over my shoulder?
Yeah. Well, you need wouldn't the like slightly or super hot Mexican weather lady be controversial?
Oh yeah. I'm gonna see if Dan will let me have that page, and we can premiere it on here, and when he's finished with it, and that'd be fun. But this gets back to what we're talking about. I think a part of the controversy isn't. I think the reason why most controversy falls flat, like when Shae says when they're trying to be controversial and they're trying to outwoke each other, I think they're just going through the motions and doing what they know. But I think when you're onto something, like whether you're in a classroom making a point and your mind is working and it's lining up with your mouth and the words are there and you have the words, you're not hesitating. There's an adrenaline that comes with that. And you want to follow that adrenaline where it goes because it's unpredictable, but it's like riding a wave, right? It's pumping you. You're like, whoa, I can't wait to finish this thought. And that could be something completely incomprehensible and stupid, or it could be something really wonderful, right? But it does fill you with a glow, right? Like I call it the Holy Spirit, but it's there, right? It's something else is being poured into your head. And I think if you back away from that, it just deflates you like a flan in the cupboard,
I think you have to lead people to the answer. I think that if you give them the answer, and especially in the way that people are presenting it, especially, the whole idea of like the postmodern approach to writing, is to take something apart, put it back together, but it's like a bad mechanic, right? Like, we don't need this part. We don't need that. What's this over here? I don't need this over here. You know, what's
I
this?
got it back together. Look, I got all these pots.
What does this doohickey do? You know? And then at the end of it, they're like, well, it kind of starts and it runs, you know, it sort of fires. I don't know. And they don't
approximation of what you had before.
Exactly. And, you know, basically what I'm getting at is that they don't understand the nuance or the craft of storytelling in the first place.
No.
They just understand what they think should be there. And so they put the pieces there. It's sort of like, I don't know, have you ever seen A Beautiful Mind when the main character was John plays I can't remember, the guy who later becomes the principal for what is it, Yale? And he's talking to him and he says, I did all the right moves. I did everything correctly. Why should I not have won? And he, you know, and he's like, haha, you know, defeated hubris, or hubris to the defeated, you know what I mean? And, you know, it's like, it's one thing to know the game, to know the craft, and to be able to lead someone to an answer. It's another to put all the pieces there and say, you should do what I say.
Buddy, you're a psychologist. I mean, I think, I also think the writer's temperament plays a big part of it. I think if you're a timid person, it's going to come out in your writing. I think if you're somebody who asks questions, it's going to come out in your writing because the question is going to have an answer, and you're going to follow the reduction of that to its natural conclusion. Right. I've always been the type of person. I know this is going to be news to Shae and possibly parts of the chat, but I'm a pretty shy person, and
no, I get that.
I just want to ask questions, right? And usually those questions are met with a lot of aggression. And what that tells me is, okay, if I'm getting flack, I'm over some kind of target. What is it about this question that's bothering everybody? Like, why is it so weird to ask a question? Like, the reason why, I mean, one of the reasons I came back to Christianity at a later age, why I rediscovered my faith, was because everybody was telling me I can't be a Christian and it's bad. And I had all these cool people saying that it's cool to be an atheist. And I went, well, you people are fucking dorks. So you're telling me what to do. I'm going to do the opposite, right? And by doing the opposite, I came right back around to what I believe is the truth, right?
Hook 'em horns.
It all comes from asking the question and desiring the answer. And I think you can ask those questions in a story without knowing the answer until you get to the end. Right. And that can create controversy because people sometimes don't want to know the answer or follow your reasoning.
That's true. Hi, Adam.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late jumping in. I couldn't miss this group.
Hi, Adam.
No, you're fine.
Did you catch my rant earlier?
I did catch the rant, and this is good.
Will's been quote unquote yeeted like 500 times so far.
I'll Joku. I'm a hardcore Christian, Quish. Plague-all, I'm hardcore. I see you couldn't tell, right? But I am a fucking hardcore Christian. I'm a Bible thumper.
So sorry, go ahead, Adam.
Oh no, I'm just happy to be here, guys. I'm happy to jump in. I think you guys you were leading here. I mean, Luke is always cool. God, he always looks so cool. It's depressing.
And he's got an all-black cat. Look.
I know. I look at myself, right, Will? You look at yourself on video and you're like, damn, I'm pathetic. And you look at Luke and you're like, that's what I should look like. It's embarrassing.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I've done zero prep for tonight physically because I had 2 intense cosplays today, and when I showered and I went,
nope. Yeah, didn't you do the furry thing earlier, Meyer or something?
Yes, I did Mir too, and it wasn't a fucking furry, but thank you for pushing that, buddy.
It wasn't a furry, so you weren't wearing cat ears?
They were fox ears, A, and B, fuck you.
Damn. This is what I missed when I was sleeping this morning.
The controversy is strong tonight. Oh, hey.
It's a puppy. It's the only endearing thing about Will. Oh,
this dog acts just like me, and this dog knows more about politics than anybody I ever met in college. So, just by sitting on me,
that dog is like, yes, I know that I need to not be here and run away from this man. Oh, that's okay. Damn it! Why are you being cute? I want to be mad at you.
See, he has little hands.
Is that a dachshund?
Yes, he's a little dachshund. He's a little mean bastard like me, and I love him.
Aw, he looks very mean.
He's a mean old bastard. He's 13, and he just got 15 tumors removed, 24 teeth, and he got neutered. So he's been through a lot this week.
Poor baby.
What he's had an effect on us all, Bob.
See, he wants a kiss. See that?
Oh, look at him.
See, I'm capable of being sweet.
As he throws the dog.
I didn't throw him.
I'm capable of being sweet dog, get out of here.
I mean, it wasn't like an alinity, you know, like throw it over his head, you know,
No.
8 feet behind him, and then be like, I'm weak, I can barely move. Like what? You like launched the cat behind you. I'm surprised it didn't go out the window.
But Luke has got an all black cat. You know how rare? That's like really rare actually.
I have no idea. They're all around here as strays. So
Yeah. Yep. I inherited her.
Oh my
Her and her sister.
you know, it's like it's bad luck if you pass a stray black cat. I'm like, shit. Everybody's got bad luck around here then.
So controversy is the topic.
Yes, sir.
Controversy?
Yes.
Give us what you got.
Three black cats.
Well, I think controversy. I think is maybe a double-edged sword. Right, there is, I think, maybe two kinds of it, and maybe you can speak to this, Shae and Will as well, and Luke. Is anybody? I didn't even say hi to you, buddy. I apologize. I don't. You don't have a picture of your face there, so
I'm camouflaged.
Yes.
We already had this. We need face to face one day.
Yeah, it would be nice. But I think it's a double-edged sword. I think controversies that in the stories, in stories that are based on two characters having opposing values, are quite interesting. And I think maybe controversies that maybe speak outside of the narrative, that maybe elicit a controversy that's going on socially, maybe sometimes can feel a little dishonest in writing. Or at least it can maybe feel like you've kind of sold out your writing integrity for sensationalism, if you
come across as hollow.
Yeah, I think you're right, Luke. I think it come across as hollow, right? Like I think, at the core, the Joker and Batman have a problem of values, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's great controversy. I think that that's what makes Tales interesting, right? Is that speaking of Avengers, is that right? This Titan that's wrecking the universe, he has a different value system. He wants to do good, and the Avengers want to do good. They just want to do it a different way. Mm. And that's the core of their fight. I think that's
not really how it was in the original comic. Like,
sure, absolutely.
He was trying to impress Mistress Death, and she's like, kill half the fucking universe. He's like, all right, I'm gonna need some power. So he went and kicked the shit out of some cosmic beings that were looking after the stones, made a gauntlet, and then fucking killed half the universe.
Fair enough. Thank you for that. Versus the cinematic.
And then she liked Deadpool better.
And then she liked Deadpool better.
She likes Deadpool
because
better.
He couldn't die.
You know what?
Came way later. Mine.
A good example of that, but it's a good discussion though. Is the Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky.
Say that
talking about?
Fast.
The Brothers Karamazov, the Brothers Karamazov, the Brothers Karamazov. The Dostoevsky novel, we have the two brothers, one's an atheist and one's a Christian, and they're just essentially just not moving, and they're just banging against each other for the whole script, the whole book, and they're having this discussion, and it's one Dostoevsky's having it in the book, and we're just kind of going along with it, and we're sort of following the debate in the book.
I mean, isn't that kind of like Tale of Two Cities?
I've actually never read Tale of Two Cities.
Okay, well,
does that make me a Philistine?
Well, I think, but I think I like what you're saying there, though, too. Is what's cool is that, like, maybe you have an atheist and a Christian, right, battling it out, or maybe you have somebody who believes in abortion and somebody who doesn't, right?
Right.
And it's a cool story. You have a girlfriend and boyfriend, and one of them believes in abortion, one of them doesn't. They get pregnant accidentally, and now you have a controversy, right?
Well, I mean, that's conflict, tension. That's like, Shakespeare, obviously, like Romeo and Juliet, star-crossed lovers or those kind of things. I mean, you always have, these kind of opposing forces in the greatest stories. And
I agree with that. I agree. And I think when you think, though, that's like what controversy elicits is the idea that it promotes an idea that the public is divided on. Mm-hmm. For example, the public is not divided on or at least not very much, divided on killing children. That wouldn't be, isn't just so controversial of a topic, right? It's fairly beautiful, but abortion and not is much more controversial because we have two different value systems that coexist, that disagree, or like you're saying, the atheist and the Christian that disagree. That I think that isn't that what you're trying to speak of with controversy versus conflict?
You're kind of reminding me of something, Adam. Like, let's not remember how we worked out our philosophy and ethics in the West, right? We started with Socratic Dialogues, right? Where that highly advanced form of discussion where you have an interlocutor that's speaking for the philosopher, in this case Socrates, via Plato, or excuse me, it's Plato via Socrates, and he's usually talking to somebody like Thrasymachus, and they're hashing it out, right? Or they're doing the Euthyphro problem, where is it piety or is it the God's will? What is this? And they're having this discussion so they could hash out a real question, right? And it's not necessarily one that everybody knows, but we're going to derive an answer based on following the logic, right?
Sure.
And earlier, when I was talking about this, how I choose to write things like this, is I just think of the reductio ad absurdum of a subject, right? Well, so think about this, buddy. If you're going to write a story about revolution, right, you can't pussy out on that. You got to take it to its logical conclusion. Just like if you were to take the Darwin nationalist, kind of pagan ethics of the Nazis and take it to its natural conclusion, what are you going to get? And you can't close that door in the face of that journey. You got to take it and see where it goes. Right?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's almost like, we're almost getting into an entirely different thing. That almost be like the cosmology and truly going all the way with that. Like once you create an idea and you have your logos and ethos to carry that forward into the future through all of its different tenets and manifestations, and I don't know if that's necessarily like writing controversy as much as that is like world building.
Well, also, I want to add this, buddy, is that, and we were talking about this earlier about the wokies, right? And how kind of stupid they can be by dwelling on these isolated things. Like Shae was saying, she was getting angry about how everything is about one issue, right? It's about I'm gay, I'm trans, I'm black, I'm a cripple, or putting it all together, I'm a black trans cripple, and seeing how many points I can get. But the problem with this is, and the reason why I bring up this following this path to its natural conclusion, because you're taking into account causality of things. And that's where you're deriving cause and effect and ethics from it and morality. Because if you take everything in isolation, you ignore secondary cause. So if I say that power is an opinion of the powerful, where is that going to take you? Right?
I think I get what you're saying.
Causality. What's that going to,
you're saying you need to establish the polarities to have controversy. Whereas like a lot of stories now, like because they're so bent in postmodernism, they're all in the middle. There is no
polarity. They're all relative. They're all just it's nebulous junk. Everything,
it's quagmire. Yeah.
Everything is categories of mind that don't line up to reality because nobody understands or is taught secondary causality of anything. There is no causality.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. You have to set up polarity before you can set up like the actual controversy, before you can have tension or conflict, because you have to know what the want is on either side. I mean, the story beat of that is you have to know what the character wants. You also have to know what happens if they don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And what do you think, Shae?
Yeah, we're waiting for your insights, Shae.
She's like, I'm out.
She's like, bitches, just get me my watch hours.
I got my watch hours. I don't need that. I'm trying to catch up in all of the chats and trying to figure out why when people have a comment that I need to approve, it does not then show up in StreamYard, because you guys keep saying stuff that I wanted to highlight and only like maybe a fourth of what I approve actually shows up in the chat for me to highlight.
And so when I say, guys, when I say secondary causality, I mean that when you do something, there's contingent events that go down in time and unfold to a natural conclusion.
Yeah,
and it can be predicted. With your reason, you can predict this. If you say life does not matter, okay, well, where are we going to get to that? Human beings become, products and cattle.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that, like you were talking about, is what we've got right now is somebody wants to pose a controversial topic, and the thing that makes it frustrating and the thing that makes it woke and frustrating and annoying and infuriating is the fact that they will pose something that should have knock-on effects and consequences on the world, and it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't because that means that there is, if you are, 5 and don't know how to analytically reason anything, what you are getting out of it is, well, if I have a homosexual character and he comes out to his parents and his parents are supportive but not happy about it, then, that means that this person is going to have that like conflicting feeling of, this is who I am. My parents understand and love me, but don't necessarily accept this part of my life. And then he's going to have to reconcile that within himself. And so it's either your parents completely cast you out and think that you're a terrible human being, and now they are vilified and everybody's like, yeah, that's a shitty way to treat your own kid. Or they accept you with open arms, and there is no gray area because gray area makes them uncomfortable. Gray area is what reality is. And that's where these controversial topics and these controversial ideas, that's where discussion happens, and they can't handle the discussion. It's either I'm posing something that is just so insanely controversial and you are either completely for or against it, and based on my views and my writing will decide whether you're a bigot or you're a saint.
Mm-hmm.
But there is nobody who is in between. Everything that they write, you either are a collection of bigots or a collection of saints. That is it. There's nothing in between.
Well, I mean, just an echo chamber. I mean, that's all.
Exactly.
They have.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. In order to cover a controversy, you have to be able to show both sides of the argument. Like, in order to tell an informed story, you got to have faith that your reader is intelligent enough to make up their own mind. But you present the argument fairly on both sides.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's like one of the most classic, fantasy escapism stories, Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
What is Lord of the Rings? I mean, it's an allegory about the oncoming industrial revolution and what man was doing to the natural state of not only the world, but humanity as a whole. Because who is the greatest enemy of man in Lord of the Rings? It's not Sauron. It's man.
Man. Turns out it's man.
Man, well, I think that you're right, Troy. It's because at the core of all stories, right, they deal with a human weakness of some kind that gets exposed to a level, right? Just like the story, Shae, you were talking about. I like this tale, like, it comes out to his parents. The parents don't react very well. I have a good friend. His name is Manny MUA. He's a YouTuber, does makeup. He grew up in San Diego, Mormon kid. He's gay. His dad is very, very Latin and didn't understand, right? And they had this really nice reconciliation the other day online. He and his dad, and his dad like went to therapy to kind of work through this, and it was really a meaningful story because Manny was born this way, and he's and there's this story, and what's he going to do? He's a 15-year-old kid having these feelings, and his dad doesn't know how to help, and that's a real thing, right? And it's not just being gay that parents don't know how to help with. There's dozens of things, right? Which is, I think that story can relate to most folks, and I think that. What's cool, like you're saying, like, you need to see her sides of the story, is that there is an empathy towards the dad as well.
Yeah.
Right? Because he came around. And I think that's, it's when they don't come around or in some way.
Well, and so here's the thing.
Go ahead.
They don't even necessarily need to come around, right? You don't have to have the dad go, oh, son, I understand where you're coming from. And while I may not agree, I love you anyway, and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of families that just go, we're just not going to talk about it. Like, I just don't want to talk about it. It's like, I still love you because you're my kid, but I don't want to hear about who you're dating. I don't want to hear about your sex life. I just don't want to hear about it. Right. And that's a real thing. And that's what a lot of people deal with. It's the same thing when, like a controversial thing in my family, I joined the military.
Yeah.
So my parents are hippies, but they're also hyper conservative.
So it's weird. And my mom was really excited when I told her I was going to join the military, because in her mind, she was like, good, she'll get out, she'll get experiences, she'll be gone for 4 years, realize how much she's missed us, come rushing back home.
She'll realize how much toilet paper is and come back.
Right. Like silly things. Right. And it's been 14 years. And almost every time I talk to my mom, one of the things that she said was, if I would have known you joining the military was going to tear you away from me for the rest of my life, I never would have encouraged you to go. And that's a topic that we've had to broach, and it's uncomfortable, and it doesn't end with warm fuzzies. It usually ends with both of us, like my mom feeling like a bad person because she feels like she's guilting her daughter into not serving her nation, which is a very hard pill for her to swallow, being as patriotic as she is. But at the same time, when it's other parents' kids, it's fine. When it's your kid, it's different, right? And then I walk away feeling like a horrible daughter because I decided that I needed to do something to better my life and not constantly live under, my mother's apron. And so it has this weird back and forth where my mom is super proud of me. She loves that I serve, and she hates it at the same time. And depending on how she's dealing with it will depend on what side of that conversation we get. But my mom doesn't have to be fully accepting of everything in order for us to have a good relationship. And in order for that to still have a good story, you don't have to resolve every single thing with warm fuzzies. And everything that doesn't resolve in warm fuzzies doesn't have to be evil and horrible where everybody's unhappy and it's so obvious. You can stay in an uncomfortable gray area and be like, you know what? This is where we live. Why do we have to reconcile everything one way or another? How come we can't leave something kind of where we live? Right? There's a lot in this gray area. That's where people grow. That's where discussions happen. That's where opinions are made. That's where opinions are changed. They're not changed on white or black. They're changed in gray.
Well, because
don't know about that one, Shae.
I heard the grumbling.
So if you are all the way on one end or all the way on the other, that's where you change your opinion, Will?
Okay, if you're constantly in gray, how do you change? I'm
not saying constantly. I'm saying that's where the growth happens. It'll push you more one way or another, but you don't have to.
But gray is just the middle of a set where you have a beginning, middle, and end. You're going to end up one way or another.
Potentially, or you're never going to make a call.
But you're changed. But you have to have a way to change. Otherwise, if you were,
right.
You're
but what
going
I'm
one way or the other.
What I'm saying is,
there.
if you have made up your mind and you have decided that anyone who is gay is evil, and that is where you have sat, and that is your mind, you aren't changing. I am not changing my 73-year-old mother's mind about pretty much anything that she has decided at this point.
I'm talking about you or her. I'm not saying that you have to change her. I'm saying that we as individuals, ourselves, we're always moving.
Right, but that can't happen if you're staying in pure white or pure dark. It happens in that gray area, and it moves you more towards one side or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are all the way on one side or the other, that's not where change happens. That's where your opinion is. That's where you sit. That's where your beliefs and your morals and your compass and everything is in one of those two sides. The gray area is the transition.
Are any of those true?
It depends. What is true?
Exactly. So what's the point of the discussion?
Oh my God.
I think.
What is the point of the discussion, Will?
We've lost him.
No, we didn't.
She kicked him out.
We did not lose him. He is backstage.
He's been out. He's
his fucking ass off.
Well, it's good to be with this group here. It's good to. So the question is in people's current stories that we're writing, what is the controversy in those to bring it into an applicable thing that has to have an answer because it's got to be written. What are people currently writing in the controversy in that comic?
Real quick before we get to that, Unhinged Entertainment, thank you for the $2. Goodfellas is more quotable than Scarface.
Okay, Unhinged. I'm trying to bang this broad. You want to help me out?
All right.
She's beautiful. She lives in the 5 towns there. I mean, yeah.
All right, Christopher John for $2. Will is a program, yes or no, you or me, on or off. I agree. That is Will in a nutshell.
What's I don't understand. I'm not
exactly.
very smart.
Does not compute. Don't worry, it's fine.
I got will.
Well, basically, we just did like
my
a
skin.
reenactment of the, of the iconic scene between Jesus Christ and Pontius Pilate. What is truth? And I said precisely.
Yeah, you
Will
gave.
is gone yet again.
Okay.
Baby, don't hurt me.
I just, sometimes you just need a minute. I don't know how many times he's been booted today, but I feel like this is a record. You doing okay, Will? Or Luke, you look y'all right?
No, yeah, I know what's missing.
I'm not going to back down. I mean, if there's no such thing as truth, there's no point in having a discussion.
Right. I think we have to admit that there is a such thing as truth, or the universe wouldn't exist. Right. We have to accept this, Will. That light moves through the galaxy at 300,000 kilometers per second, regardless of whether there's humans in it, and it moves that way at sort of any place that we can perceive it. So, and that's true. And if that isn't true, then nothing we have, no machine and no computer would work, because it's based on a precision that's so precise you can base rocket ships you send into space on it. So I think we have to accept that there are real absolutes, because that's just like pretending gravity can just like sometimes doesn't work.
Right.
That's just kind of silly, right?
I mean, there are obvious truths, but in what we were discussing, where we're discussing opinions and thoughts and stuff, I don't think that there is always a 1000% right answer, and I don't think that there's always a right answer that you're going to get on this realm, because again, if you want to get religious with it, wouldn't that be knowing the mind of God, which you can't do on this realm?
No, I'm not a Protestant, so I don't think that way.
Oh my gosh.
Because we have reason, we can apprehend the mind of God. Sorry to tell you that. That's how science came into existence.
Yeah.
Sorry to tell you that.
You understand everything, gotcha.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I don't.
What's happening? We fully lost it.
Is that reason and faith are not incompatible with each other?
There is truth. Okay, truth exists. We're happy with that. Let's move on from there.
Yeah, so I think I like this, Will, though. I think that maybe that sometimes the answer within this truth in our stories, speaking down to things that have to be typed out with our fingers, the answers can be complex or jilted or incomplete, right? That we could have an incomplete understanding of a truth, and maybe that's what makes stories interesting, right? Like I feel like that's what makes George R. R. Martin so great, right? His characters have so much self-deceit, right? And as a result,
I think George R. R. Martin's writing a gimmick with Game of Thrones. I'm sorry. It's just basically like, it's a bloody game of musical chairs. There's two people protected. Find out which one
I get
play.
what Adam's saying, though.
But sure, you're talking about like the big picture. I'm talking about the interpersonal communication amongst his characters and the amount of self-deception that they work under. And what's interesting about that is because you can never get complete answers from them, because there's so much self-deceit. And I think that's, from a writing standpoint, makes great drama. From a personal religious standpoint, and happiness is probably low. That's probably low in that department. But I think it's good in our stories, right? Will, don't you think that? Well,
sorry, Adam. What was the previous thing? Well, you're low. What was that?
Oh, is it like living with a lot of self-deceit and incomplete answers, such as in Game of Thrones, is not a very happy. It doesn't bring much good happiness in your personal life, right? It's misery. But it makes for great drama and stories.
Yeah, as a former, liar. Yeah, of course, I could tell you that you bring a lot of misery to yourself by lying constantly, because you're lying.
That's right.
You know what I mean? That's the point. If you didn't know you were lying, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't care.
What's a lot of work too? So what is it, like the spy game where he's like, you tell that person five lies that have to be true. So you have to remember those five truths for that person. But then when you have 900 people, you have to have 5 truths for 900 people. That's a lot of truths to remember.
That's a great scene though, buddy. When he asked him, he's like, "How'd you get a cigarette from that woman?" He goes, "Well, I told her this." He's like, "Well, that's 5 lies got to be true." That was a great scene. That whole section of Spy Game where he's teaching him the ropes is a great section of that film.
Great. I like this thing from Jason here from Unhinged. What's the most controversial? Yeah, sorry, Shae, take it.
No, you're good. You're good. What's the most controversial comic that's come out in your opinion?
Controversial comic.
I could say offensive, but not controversial. I mean, it's been a while.
controversial.
I remember an issue of Spider-Man that was controversial at the time. It did
that
not
the drug one?
Yes, the drug one. Did not get the Comic Code Authority seal of approval, and Marvel ran it anyway. And it was just about vague pills. Harry Osborn was experimenting with vague pills, but DC had the Comics Code Authority approval when they did like literal heroin. Like he's on the cover, he's with Speedy and the Needle, But it's a huge controversy because Marvel ran the thing without the Comic Code Authority.
Is it kind of funny, Luke, that the guys who were pushing for the Comics Code to get rid of their main competitor get bit in the ass by it?
Yeah. Well, hubris, man.
Hubris. I mean, don't you think that, like, what do you think about, like, I felt like Watchmen, when it's still even now, has this controversial element because of, the character of Rorschach, right? Who is like, never compromise even in the face of Armageddon, right? That he was going to let the world burn in regards to holding to his morality, right? This is Alan Moore's great controversial question. Like, do you abandon what you perceive as your moral code in the face of, Armageddon in that story?
Right.
Do you abandon your conviction to save lives? And, Rorschach said, no, so you have to kill me because I'll have to stop you if you don't. And that was, I think, kind of a profound controversy, right? And it echoes sort of this idea for us, like, are your convictions, what are the limitations of your convictions, right? And for Rorschach, he had none.
Man, he was correct. If we're going to build a utopia on lies, dude, that's not going to sustain itself. Because a lie is transient. It's not being. You know what I mean? It's not truth. So he's like, I know it might take 5 years, might be 10 years. Utopia is going to collapse. People are going to question this event until they pierce right through it.
Yeah,
and it's going to upend whatever order you build on top of it.
I love that. So that's where you stand on that controversy, Will, and I think that's why. What a perfect comic book. Why I probably skipped the TV show because I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that story, but.
Yeah, exactly. Past master, the truth is always going to come out. It always does.
Yeah.
And history, human beings are not in control of history. So it always gets out of our hands, even though we try to make ourselves the prime mover of it. I'm sure Alexander the Great didn't want to die at 33.
No.
But
he had a pretty full life, though.
Yeah, but he's going to do a whole lot more. But history had a use for him, and then got rid of him when it didn't need him.
Well, right. I mean, JFK,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think at the core,
all just pawns in history's making. Then, anyway,
I don't think we're pawns because I think that history is telling a story, and we get to participate in it how we choose.
Agreed.
And it's going on its pathway with or without us. That's
right.
The thing. I think agree with you, Will. It's going right. The Black Plague came and wiped out a third of the earth, and you couldn't fix that. And it was going, and how you get to participate in it. I think when writing the 8th, my recent graphic novel was, what happens if you take somebody who wants to control the outcome, right? Who is willing to accept that the world is going on a pathway that you can't actually control. You can only control how you'll react to it, right? But you want to alter that, and ultimately it costs him, his mother, his aunt, friends, other people's lives in this pursuit, only to realize he's wrong, that he can't control the world, and he can't make it do something. So I think that there's my great addition to controversy, the 8th. So I'll give it that.
What about you, Luke?
The most controversial comic? Is that what
you already said yours.
He's in heroin.
Yeah.
Buddy hasn't said one.
God Loves, Man Killed.
Oh, okay. X-Men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know.
The real
he took up, he had a long run of just, I think it was Claremont, right? Of like great comic books. And
Amazing.
just and I think he built up to that, and then he said what he wanted to say. And I don't know if people really got what he was saying, though. You know, I mean, we kind of take these simple allegories and we give them a lot more presence than I think writers really wanted to, because I mean, the writer wants to be clever, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think Claremont wanted to be clever, and he was trying to you know, pass like a more grand schematic there that people didn't catch on to, because really of a social psychology phenomenon we call fundamental attribution error, which is where if we find a phenomenon that we cannot explain, we automatically attribute that to a factor that we can, to basically a stereotype. You know, we say, oh, well, that's just what, you know, Nazis do. That's just what these do. That's just what they do. And so when they look at that, they, oh, well, this is just about, you know, racism and this and that. And it's like, is it?
Will, do you have a comic in mind?
I don't really get offended very easily at all, really. I just find things stupid. And usually when I see a book, I just see an asshole trying to be offensive, and he's doing a really bad job at it. And like, I'll give you, I guess you could say, I like this book. I think it's funny, but there's parts of it where I'm like, okay, that's a little stupid. Is Preacher. Is the whole thing with Jesus Christ. And I was like, okay, we're going there, are we? You know what I mean? Because it's not exactly, in this day and age, it's not exactly transgressive. It's just goofy. Right?
Yeah. I found Preacher was like...
You read.
Yeah, Preacher's like, if it's sacred, it's profane.
No, how much Garth Ennis have you read outside of Preacher?
Almost his whole corpus.
Okay. All right, good. So you're
I like Garth Ennis. I think he's funny.
Yeah, that's his sense of humor. It's supposed to be stupid.
Okay, you know, here's a better example, right? Like the other day I was rewatching Prometheus.
Right.
And back a long time ago when I saw that film, I thought it was okay. And this time I was like, God, this is a remarkably stupid movie. Like, this is idiotic. I mean, and it shows you, not to offend any of the atheists in the room, I'm like, God, talk about a bankrupt worldview, right? Like, you cannot understand primary causality, so you invent fucking aliens and you push back causality to aliens. Okay, fine. Who made them? You know, something doesn't come from nothing, guys. You still haven't answered that question. So we're not going to answer the question, so we're just going to say aliens did it. And I was like, God, this is dumb. This is so stupid. You know, it's like they're trying to be like heady, and they're pushing an agenda that's already been talked to death, right? So it's not anything new. Does that make sense? It's just you're bored of Darwinism already. You know, it's like, oh, that again, this old argument. You know. So that's the only thing. It just makes you feel just going, oh God, another one, right? You're not offended. You're just bored.
Right.
What up, Frankie?
Hey. Frankie, where's that Italian face? That bat I want to see.
Where's the pigeon?
No, that's the bat. He's the bat.
The baseball bat?
Frankie, I could have used that earlier.
Yeah, she's mad at
You
me
want
now.
wood or aluminum?
I think wood.
Aluminum.
No.
Kneecaps?
I was gonna do wood.
Kneecaps or legs? What do you want?
So
yeah. So I didn't say the one that, and it's not that I necessarily found this controversial, it's just that I know that it was a controversial idea at the time, but in all honesty, I think that it was handled really well, is when you had the Joker shoot Batgirl, and now she is crippled, now she is unable to do all of the badass shit that she was doing, and I think it's a way to, while devastating for reading and really into the series and everything, I think that it was a well-handled way to kind of take a character out without having to necessarily kill them.
I thought you were going to pick mine. I was going to pick the Killing Joke. Not the Killing Joke. Death in the Family. taking out Robin.
Why
that
death
was
family?
brutal.
It was bad. That was
As a kid, we were like, holy shit, what the hell?
I
did
called
just
in to have him killed.
Dude,
How did I know? Yeah.
You guys remember in the back you had the 1-800 number?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
In the first 3 issues or whatever.
With those badass Mike Mignola covers that they had, remember?
I know.
Dude, some of those were the first Batman comics that my dad got me when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm. It had that side strip with Death in the Family, and you had like I said, all those. It was just a really beautiful design.
I remember trading the trade paperback of that for Spider-Man versus Wolverine.
Yes.
There wasn't dedicated Spider-Man versus Wolverine. It was just like a random crossover.
It was a one-shot, like graphic novel kind of thing. It was like 50
Yeah, they
pages
wrote
or
for
something.
Russia. It's good shit, man.
I agree.
Was that controversial, Will?
No, I just don't remember that like one shot. I'm trying to because I was a big Spider-Man guy.
It was like the cover was like a graveyard and like Wolverine.
Oh, is that when Spider-Man punched out? It broke the skull of like Wolverine's girlfriend. It's like the Craven the Hunter. It's like he's like hugging like a grave.
Yeah, I think so.
And he like
no,
punches.
it's not that one.
You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Now I gotta find it.
No, I actually have no idea what you're talking about. Daredevil is hugging a gravestone after a
No, I just remember like he's fighting with Wolverine in a graveyard, and a woman grabs Peter Parker by the shoulder. He doesn't know who it is, and he turns around and punches her in the head and kills her.
No, I'm staring at the cover now. It's like what it is it's like Spider-Man, and he's kind of in sort of like a I don't know. He's leaped up in the air with his legs spread, and Wolverine is demolishing a gravestone.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know that cover. Shoot.
Yeah, it was the first time that Spider-Man realized that he would have to not hold back, because Wolverine would probably kill him if he wasn't careful. Because Wolverine was on a mission, he was not fucking around, and he told him to get out of his way, and he wouldn't. So Wolverine went after him. He cracked a couple of tombstones with Wolverine's head too. Yep. Good book. Good book. I might have a spare lying around. If I can find it, I'll send it.
Why don't you go back to the library and you get us something to look at?
Yeah, see, I mean, well, we are looking at your library today.
I'm not sure.
My library's over there.
He's like, I don't know where it is. Look at that monstrous pile behind him.
Right.
I mean, there's books over here. There's some. So.
Yeah, it's in one of these boxes. I will find it.
Well, Unhinged has a good question. Would you want your comic or story to be controversial? Sometimes a fun read and great art is better.
I back that. I think that's the cool part about comics is there isn't a right comic to make, right? That's what's cool. It doesn't belong to anyone. It doesn't belong to publishers. It belongs to anybody who wants to jump in the medium. And I think it's nice to get both, right? Like I love Rumble, for example. I don't know if any of you guys read that book. Curdy and Dave Rubin, and I just freaking love it. And James Herron did art too. And it's like, it's just fun. And that's maybe equally as valuable as something that, begs deep questions.
I think you write for both. I know, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, the Sins of the Fae was written as a novel long before it was written as a comic book. But even as a comic book, it's written for both. Like there is controversy within the characters and conflict and tension and all kinds of things that's written into the very DNA of the story itself. But do you want to see that? Because you don't have to. You can just look at, really great action scenes, really beautiful women with, hot chicks with guns and holsters and, leather bracers and that kind of thing. You can see that if that's what you want to see. If you want to look deeper, it's there.
Well, and I think that the moment that you write attempting to be controversial is the moment that you failed. Like, I think if you write and controversial topics come up and have their own ebb and flow and their own kind of life cycle, that's fine. But if you set out to write something to be controversial, I think that you're going to be very hard pressed to actually succeed without coming off as just some kind of a pandering asshole or somebody who's pushing an agenda or somebody who is disingenuous in what they're trying to say.
I think you just write characters, and if there is
organic.
controversy within them, then there is.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like Wolverine said, if you intend to be controversial, then it's just provocative and pandering.
And it comes across as hollow.
It's propaganda.
Exactly. You're trying to push a. Can you actually tell an organic story at that point? Like, if you're trying to push an agenda, can you actually tell an organic story at that point? I don't think
No, because it's on rails.
Because
It's like throwing a
the story
ball down a bumper lane, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, basically. So I mean, you're either going to be honest with your story or you're going to pander. Like, tell the truth when you're telling your story. Stand and be true. You know.
Yeah.
That's my maxim.
You stand like a tree and say, "No, you move."
Mm-hmm. That's how you live life, man.
Was that the Captain America speech that Mark Wayne wrote?
Very shortened parapet of it, but yeah.
I just want to be left alone to watch Face Off and Con Air. And this goes to what Unhinged said, right? Like, I love Con
Many
Air.
hands make light work, my daddy said.
I just want to watch these kinds of movies. They entertain me. I enjoy them. I'm a very lowbrow man. I have no problems with God, and he has no problems with me. But if you're coming for a fight, and you're going to tell me what is up is really down, I'm just not going to tell you and say, sure, buddy. Like, the sky is green and the ocean is fuchsia, whatever. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I can't help it. Then leave me alone if you don't want my opinion, right? So if I can just walk down the street and go see the $1 Con Air, double bill with The Rock, I'm happy as a camper. But when you come in and say, motherfucker, don't you know that the sky is purple? And I'm like, I just want to watch Nick Cage do his shit, man. Leave me alone.
That's controversial, my friend. That's controversial.
But don't you know that Con Air was really a story about the coming out of
I mean, there is a trans character in there, isn't there?
I saw that in theaters.
I did too. I love that fucking movie. But again, this is the point. We just want to be left alone to write funny
Buscemi
books.
was the best. I'm sorry.
Which one?
Buscemi.
Oh yeah, the what was he called? Like the seaside ripper?
Serial killer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember the scariest thing was him at a table with a young girl.
Yep.
So did I. Wolverine. So did I. But it's hard arousing her right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to kind of show you my marital.
Well, that
record.
was controversial. Yeah.
Well, buddy, my marital record speaks to this. I just exhaust people.
Yes.
Okay.
I am self-aware, so others don't have to be aware of me.
Nope.
Fucking.
Well, yeah, it's true. It's the truth.
Stoic
What am I going to say? No.
Sentence.
Nope.
If I had a finger growing out of my head, and I'd be the first one to say there's a fucking finger on my head.
But it's this fight that's
Where are
probably.
we?
Will is so extra all the time.
Of course.
Behold, the field in which I grow my fucks.
Lady twat.
Darren.
Is that twat?
What?
I don't know. I had a hard time reading that.
Behold the field in which I grow my fucks. Lay thine eyes upon it and see that it is barren.
Oh.
That was my going away gift.
She has a barren garden of fucks for you, Will.
The most toxic place I've ever been stationed.
And that's why I don't cry.
The most accurate thing I could possibly think of to hold up to describe how I feel about Will tonight.
Precisely. Don't listen to what I say. Apprehend the truth for your own, Timothy.
Oh, good hell.
I'm just a guy in the end.
Okay.
You
good? Does anybody have...
good. This has been great.
Yeah.
Adam, you are truly great. Thank you for coming.
Dude, I freaking love being on it with you because it's like, I know when this group gets here, like, we're going to really tear into things, and it's good.
Yeah.
We tore some new holes and some new places a little bit tonight.
Yeah.
What?
Frankie, yeah.
So Frankie, what is your controversial comic, Frankie?
Yeah, Frankie.
He said it.
I said it. It was
The
Death in the Family.
of Robin. Yeah, there you go.
Death in the Family. Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that controversial to you?
Yeah.
How about they killed a kid in there basically with a crowbar?
Oh yeah, he did kind of beat him pretty brutally in there.
Yeah, it was brutal.
He beat him
to death.
As a kid reading that, it's like, whoa.
I forgot how kind of traumatic that was. Like, holy crap, they just beat him with a crowbar?
Yeah, it was.
Doesn't he like
that's the real
blow
thing.
up
That's-
Joker in a helicopter at the end or something?
And then he blows him up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Well, Joker blew,
Yeah, he blows up
dude
the
up, but then
warehouse.
Batman goes into like,
Yeah. Beats
Yeah,
him
he's
with
in
a
like a
crowbar,
helicopter.
blows
No, I
the
just
warehouse.
thanks for reminding me, Frank. I just totally forgot how brutal that was.
Yeah, that whole Joker scene was. Whew.
the new they had like one of those new animated Batman where Jason Garrett Wright comes back as Red Mask or whatever. He's like, I'm not mad that you didn't, that you weren't there for me, but he's like, why did you let this thing live?
Wolverine says they didn't kill him with the crowbar. He merely beat him with the crowbar. He killed him with an explosion.
Yeah. Thanks to me,
But he
calling
did
in.
not kill him, right? Like he's
Well, yeah, the Red Hood. Supposedly,
There's a lot.
What about the controversy of that? Is that bringing characters back and
I don't
ruining the death?
see all that well, so my knowledge fades out after a certain point. I said I don't DC all that well.
Oh yeah, you're a self-proclaimed Marvel zombie.
No, I don't marvel, so
we all marveled.
We all did, but I think what happened is, for me, like once I had this moment where I was shooting Snakes on a Plane, the music video for the film, and Sam Jackson came to set and he was reading 100 Bullets.
I love that movie, by the way. It's another one I love.
Okay, I'm glad that you did.
Do you just like airplane movies?
Yeah, I love Air Force One. I love Passenger 57. I love Executive Decision.
What about Airplane?
Huh?
Air Force One.
Airplane. There you go.
Get off my plane.
I mean, even part of Cliffhanger, when they left the plane, I said, fuck it, I'm walking out of the movie.
Yeah, it's over.
I'm done.
And he had 100 Bullets. He was reading 100 Bullets, that book by Brian Azzarello and Eduardo Rizzo. And I, at the time I kind of grew up in Marvel, then switched to DC, and I kind of lost interest in Marvel years before. And I remember he was reading 100 Bullets, and I said, well, if it's cool enough for Sam, it's got to be cool enough for me. So I went and I read that graphic novel, 100 Bullets, and I think after I read that, I said, oh, this is what comics should be. And then I never went back to the big two, right? That was the end for me.
I would have asked Sam Jackson to just diss me for a while. I just start talking shit to me. I just want to hear it. Like Ian McShane. If I ever met Ian McShane, I'd say, just call me a cocksucker.
Just say mean things to me, yeah. I mean, he is the person on screen that he is in real life. He's the same. In fact, his daughter, ironically, is my story producer when I do television, and she's lovely. It's ironic. She's not in front of the camera at all, but she's really nice.
And he was on Snake. He was in Snakes on a Plane. That's all I need to hear.
That was significant.
For everything else, Snakes on a Plane.
That was the one. That was the one.
I have never seen Snakes on a Plane.
Well,
it's all right.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I think you will. Thank you.
I saw it with the best audience on the planet. They were all into it. Everyone was laughing. They were talking at the screen. It was a great premiere. I saw
only
that.
Saw 2 scenes. And they were exactly what I expected from Snakes on a Plane. So,
I mean, like if you look at my shelf, it's Deep Star 6.
I mean, good title. Snakes on a Plane.
I love Deep Star 6. I love all those movies, man.
It's like Jaws. What do you expect to be in there?
I don't like Jaws. I think Jaws sucks, personally. See,
no, buddy. It's like Sharknado. What do you expect?
I like Sharknado.
Of course you do.
They have like a lava rantula or something. It's like
and the Room. I love The Room. I saw that in the theaters. Saw that in Hollywood.
Really? Like you and the usher?
That entire movie.
What?
I couldn't even sit through that entire movie.
Oh, it was great, man. If you saw the theater,
I was like, "Why are you torturing me?"
In LA, they play it every Friday, like the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and it's a whole event. So
that's where I met my first
It's
goth girl.
not true. It did not hit that. Oh, hi, Tom.
You're like, I've definitely got cancer. Anyway, how you doing? You know, I cannot tell you. Anyways, how's your sex life?
Didn't we talk about that earlier?
No, we haven't done a show in the room.
That was a controversial discussion. That was we had to reboot Shae after that. Let's not go
No, unhinged. You can't make a movie like that intentionally. Exactly. You can't make a movie like The Room intentionally. It will not come off. That is something that came from the mind of God, from some platonic form somewhere.
Didn't James Franco try? That was pretty good.
But that was based on a memoir, you know?
That's true. He was copying something that had already been done. Fair enough.
Right.
Fair enough.
And it's sort of like the movie of the making of the movie.
That's true. That's true.
But the movie itself, that bad, you cannot try with that. Like I said, it's a platonic form. It came from somewhere else. It was fully formed.
Fair enough. True.
Yeah.
Which one was The Room? Was that the one with the weird Tommy Wiseau or whatever?
Yes. Oh, hello, Timothy.
Because isn't there like The Room and then there's just Room with like Brie Larson or something?
I don't know. I don't even know why it's called The Room.
I'm gonna stay away from both. Just no.
I love Commando. It's another movie I love.
Thank you, Will, for saying that. That is one of the best. I grew up on that. And I remember when I was a kid in elementary school, if I was having a tough morning, I would get up early and I would watch just the ending action where he came in and he suited up and then shot all the guys at the end. And
Takes out a whole Latin American country.
Where they threw the saw blade and cut somebody's head off.
Then I would be ready to take on, school. That's
what did you say? Let off some steam, Bennett.
Yeah.
Let off some steam, Bennett.
I gotta say this.
Sorry, my arm's getting tired.
Vernon Wells could have done some push-ups for that movie, man. He looks like a fat-ass Freddie Mercury with a chainmail. I'm like, dude, you're on screen with Arnold. Do some sit-ups, do some push-ups. Come on, get in shape. And he's all like walking around with a big old spare tire, and he's fighting with Arnold, who's all swole, Mr. Universe. And I'm like, all right, well, come on, Freddie or Vernon. I mean, you're not looking like you looked in The Wasteland, buddy. You got that reference.
No, I don't.
The Road Warrior. He was the bad guy in The Road Warrior.
Was he?
Yeah, he was the guy on the motorcycle with the twink guy on his bike with him. Remember? With the mohawk?
No. Not right now. I'll probably remember.
He was humongous sort of henchman.
That was him.
Okay, is that the Brie Larson one? Where she was kidnapped?
What am I missing about The Room?
Oh my gosh.
Well, go watch it.
No! I've got better shit to do with my time.
No, you don't sit and watch it. You put it in the background.
No.
You could bag and board comic books. And, watch it while you do that.
No. I'm not sideloading that shitty movie into my brain. Just, you guys are nuts.
I think she's Googling an assassin to take out Will.
Yes, you need to.
I'm not currently typing.
I was typing earlier. All right, guys. I'll be wholly honest. Aside from the fact that Will has just exhausted me beyond all belief,
Jay, no one will speak the truth but me. I will never lie. Never.
So I'm gonna mute him so I can get through this, so he doesn't quit the entire time. I'm definitely going to have to call it. I've been up and streaming and everything for about 16 hours at this point, so I'm a little bit spent, and I got work in 6 hours, so I'm gonna have to call it.
I think we put in some good work.
I think we did.
Yeah,
some mighty fine work.
It was a good show. If you want to see Shae get pissed at Will for a minute, scrub back. Probably about 45 minutes.
Somebody needs to make a bite-sized writing controversy channel and just put the bites that are fun in there.
39 minutes, I think, is where you want to scrub back to. That's a particularly fun part.
Yeah,
I'm good.
We rebooted Shae.
Yeah, when Shae boots herself from the stream, that's... And no, not by accident, intentionally. Intentionally.
Cool. I'm glad. That's like an unlocked achievement.
The next unlocked achievement you're gonna get is Will is banned from writing prose.
I'm gonna come in here with a belt from the WWE on my shoulder and say, "Got the belt."
Please do. All right, let's go save round. So, Lukey, you are up.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and YouTube at Death Metal Hero. I host the Sing Along of Doom, where I mangle some of your favorite radio hits. Come join me and sing along. You know you want to. Fun stuff. Working on a couple of different projects. I've got a cyberpunk project that will tie in with Character Crux, and then I've got the horror anthology with, see if I can do this correctly, that one over there. So yeah, stay tuned. More fun.
Nice. Buddy.
I am Buddy Lord. I have written Sins of the Fae, Forgotten Gods Want to Enslave Earth, and the Fae have always stood in their own way until now. Only one family stands between us and oblivion. So if you want to find out if Earth makes it, then check out Sins of the Fae at sinsofthefae.com.
Nice.
All right. That was very concise. I'm very impressed, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Adam.
I am television and comic book writer, and you can get me at Failed Superhero on Twitter. And if you click my pinned tweet, you'll see my new graphic novel, The Kill Journal, which is a tale about revenants, which are evil spirits back from the dead, bent on slaughter. They use chainsaws and machetes, and those who have survived their attacks have banded together, led by a mad preacher, and they are coming for revenge. So this Halloween, it's going to get bloody and frightening, and Jason better watch his ass.
Keep talking dirty to me. I love it.
So, anyways, but you can, take you right there where it's in a pre-launch right now. And what's cool is we're having a custom mask built of one of the Revenants. Imagine a much cooler, fancier version of a hockey mask. And people who are on the pre-launch page at the end of August, you can win that mask. One person will win it for free.
Well, that's cool. Sweet. William.
I'm William, and I'm married to Dan Frega, and we're expecting Black Flag, and it's going to have some ass titty, AAT, in the first maybe 10 pages. We've all talked about, the fine-ass Mexican weather girl. She's in it. Who cares about Rob Willis? Who cares about the line art covers? Who cares about the swag? Fine-ass Mexican weather girl.
Okay.
You're $180,000 for this double page that Dan's going to draw. Be there for Black Flag, Pineapple Perception, AAT.
AAT for life.
I specifically like how you decided to go like you and Dan were announcing a baby.
Yeah.
With that, like we're expecting. Should be good.
Yeah, we are expecting. I mean, it's been
9 months from
gestating for a year.
9 months from now. Oh goodness. All right, Frankie, you are up, sir.
Through the Woods is available on Indiegogo, and if you order, we ship immediately. And yeah, I think that's about it.
It's the
well,
shit.
I don't have the date for we're supposed to release the Ghostly Manor on Howling Hill, which is a kid's book.
There it is.
Set in
confirm order
set in Halloween. But we don't have a release date for that yet. Limited quantity, so it's coming soon.
I want you to forge my own Through the Woods Viking axe. That should be a perk.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That seriously, I love that. I think it's badass. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming out. Thank you everybody for hanging with us for almost 2 hours. That's it's pretty fucking epic how long you guys stick around with us, especially when we're screaming at each other. Please share, and subscribe to Red Valkyrie. We are still planning our super epic party that's going to happen in October. Exact date to be determined. But yeah, It's going to be badass. You guys are amazing. Thank you for helping get us to monetization, and thank you guys for all of your love and support. You guys are so fucking epic. Thanks everyone on the panel for coming and hanging out.
You guys are. Thanks for watching.
Absolutely, and thank you everyone who's going to watch it on replay. So you guys are badass, and we will catch you all next time.
I